Yeah.
You have a little percentage. Like
Yes.
and I don't want to know the percentage. I want to pull the trigger. Ooh, that's a great face.
You are pulling the trigger.
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
you might miss.
You are telling the soldier to pull the trigger, and the soldier has a random number generated chance of
Yes.
making that shot.
Yes.
And this is why personally I'm not into the genre. Because I want to be the soldier. I want to pull the trigger.
If you were the soldier, do you think you would hit every single shot?
No.
You ever make? Oh, okay. What's the problem?
Because I want to miss the shot, not tell a soldier and then the random number
mission could have serious repercussions for the resistance.
my problem.
All right. Well, if you like action games.
I do like action games.
I like thinking. I like thinking.
And you like thinking.
I like using my brain.
Yeah.
XCOM is you can make an argument that XCOM is very educational.
Oh, go ahead and make that argument.
XCOM teaches you not to gamble. XCOM helps you to learn statistics real quick.
Sure, that's true.
When you play XCOM, you quickly learn that a 76% chance to hit is also a 24% chance to miss.
Yes.
I had something happened like a week or two ago now where I missed a 99% shot. I don't know, you say ouch, right? But I'm an experienced XCOM vet at this point, and I thought back on all of the various 99% shots I've made, and with 1,000 hours in XCOM, I've made a fair amount of 99% shots, and I realized, I've probably made more than 100 of those. I'm not doing bad. I was due for that 1%.
I had a sniper. My favorite sniper, Gangster.
Yeah.
Was the randomly generated nickname.
Which you can change.
Which you can change, of course. Gangster, for some reason, was known, she would just make every single shot 30% make it, 20% make it, 15% make it. And it just got to the point where...
Should have called her Gambler.
Right? She's the gambler. It got to the point where, 80% shot? Oh, she's definitely going to make it. Of course she's going to make it. I'm pretty sure she died on the battlefield. So.
If you had that attitude, sure she died.
So tactics, strategy.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to go with this next?
Exactly. Where do we want to go?
Well, you're soldiers.
Yes.
What sets XCOM apart, miles apart from your real-time strategy games, is in real-time strategy, you just pump units out. And they're completely faceless, meaningless units. You got 800 Space Marines and 45 tanks, and they all go into battle and they die constantly.
You highlight all of them. Now go into
battle.
They
go all attack, and then they, 90% of them die.
Yeah,
and you don't care if you won. You don't care. XCOM is great at getting you attached to your squad. There's at the most you ever get to control is really 6. Maybe 7 technically, but 6.
Yeah,
and that's just a small enough number where you get to know them. They're your peeps.
Don't say peeps.
They're your peeps.
Oh God, don't say peeps.
There's an insane amount of customization in this game. You said the Gangster was your one's name. It was randomly generated. Yeah. You can make your own nicknames. You could have renamed her nickname to be Gambler,
of course,
and it would have been fine. And you could have gone into the customization. You could have given her the face paint for the camouflage face paint and a bandana, and make her your own character. Maybe she's got a really aggressive personality. So you could like what this one has that the other one didn't is it actually has personality types. You can put I forget what they call intense. And that's the aggressive one. And when they kill, they're like, did you see that? And it gives them aggressive lines. And
you can even personalize their bio. You can make a backstory for your soldier. She grew up on the mean streets of Harlem.
And what you will never get in a real-time strategy game is when one of those people dies. It hits. It just hits you right here. You feel that. Oh no!
It's true.
Marianne!
I had a strategy when I started playing the game. Because we had just come off of some role-playing games, and so I was like, I'm going to make my own world. And what I decided was, when someone joined my XCOM group, they had to shave their head and wear skull face paint.
Okay.
So that, because we were...
Kind of like an actual military.
Kind of like an actual military. I was going for the war girls.
Yeah.
They were all girls, and much like Mad Max Fury Road, they all had shaved heads and white skull face paint. Because I was like, oh yeah, we're going to... Militaristic. We're an army of one. But then I ran into a problem of not being able to identify my cool sniper who kept making all those amazing shots. Oh, and this mission is difficult. Oh, there's a lot of enemies on this mission. I want that sniper that makes all of those low percentage. Oh no, is that Spooky Bacon or Spooky Ham? I gave them all funny names.
Yeah.
I gave them all food names too. And so I forgot which one was which, and I was like, oh my god, so I had to completely change my strategy and give them all unique hairstyles and different colored armor, and to make sure that I knew which one I liked. Because you get favorites.
Yeah.
You get favorites, and you can't, they do a really great job of, like, balancing that out. Because you constantly need fresh blood in XCOM, because at any point, your soldier can die.
If you're developing just one team, if you're just focusing on just the 6, if somebody dies, you've got problems then, because then you're kind of crippled.
Yeah.
You got to bring a rookie, and then rookies are horrible.
So on every mission, you kind of have to have like 4, maybe 5 people you trust, then a rookie.
You want at least one trainee.
Yes.
Because you want a decent amount of leveled guys just to keep everybody alive, but you also need the fresh blood, so there's someone to replace them if someone falls.
It turns into a wonderful war machine. Like constantly making sure all of your soldiers are trained, and
because I guess we should say I go under the assumption that everybody knows this game. And
of course,
sure
everybody knows XCOM.
They probably don't, but your guys level up. They advance in rank, and with rank comes things like better aim, very important, and different classes. Like the first thing when everyone just starts as a rookie. Yeah. They're nothing. They got no uniqueness to them.
They're nothing.
And then you get one mission, you get a kill, and then you get a promotion, and you're a squatty, and you can be in one of 4 classes. There is the ranger class, which is the shotgun class. They also have a sword, but they're a
shotgun specialist. Absolutely.
They're the high risk, high reward class.
Okay.
They like to get in close and do large amounts of damage. But by getting close, they can also leave themselves vulnerable, close to the enemy flank, and then also alert new units that you didn't see before. But they can do a shitload of damage.
With their shotgun only.
Yeah. Then you get the sniper class.
Which is
they stay behind and shoot.
The sniper.
And then there's the grenade class that has the big heavy artillery that blows things up.
Yep.
And the hacker, the specialist class, does utility kind of things.
And has a little drone buddy that can do damage, heal people, or hack from distance.
Yeah. And each class has a divergent skill tree. You can go one path or the other, and you can mix and match. But as you rank up, you get different powers. Like the sniper, for instance, you can get either long range focus powers, like the oh god, I'm drawing a blank of what it's called. The Overwatch one that's like a kill zone.
Long shot.
Where the kill zone is one of the later ones actually.
Oh.
That's where you go on Overwatch, and instead of shooting.
Oh, and I was thinking of Long Watch.
Okay, yeah, no,
that's what I was.
This is slightly different.
Okay, go ahead.
Kill zone, where there's this cone in front of them, and as opposed to shooting at one alien that moves, it can shoot at anything that wanders into that cone. Right, and that's like a powerful long-range ability. Or you can go to the other side of the tree and there's like gun-focused things.
Yeah,
like you shoot at 8 things with your pistol,
which is pretty nice if you get the leveled up pistol and there's a bunch of lower level enemies. It could be really nice.
Yeah, you can mix and match the skills too to make the soldier you want.
And you can get 2 you could get 2 snipers, put one on one side, one on the other side, and have both on your team. Yeah, it's neat. It's neat. it's a little boring.
But it helps to give them their own flavor, their own individuality.
Yes.
Like character. They got this power and that power and that power, and then the other snipers got different skills.
Absolutely. And also it helps add to the replayability.
Yeah.
Where, this time, I just want an entire team of specialists. Fuck it, let's see what happens. Obviously, you wouldn't really want that, but, you could play with nothing but grenadiers.
Well, here's one of the differences
Yeah.
between XCOM 2 and then the first one. Mm-hmm. For the record, when I say first one, I'm never going to be referencing the 1993 classic. I'm going to be referencing the 2012 XCOM Enemy Unknown.
Right.
Just for convenience.
Yes.
The classes seem more balanced to me.
Okay.
I used to think that the support was useless.
Mm-hmm.
They had like the smoke grenade that you almost never really needed to use, except for a couple times, like ever. Mm-hmm. And then you had like classes like the sniper who were just ridiculously powerful. That's a bit more balanced now.
Okay.
I no longer think the specialist is useless. They have more functionality than they used to. Mm-hmm. I think sniper's kind of been nerfed. Too nerfed.
Too nerfed?
They can't hit shit. The snipers sniper can no longer hit jack
Maybe
shit.
you got shit snipers is all.
I do have shit snipers. I think a high rank sniper should more frequently have percentages to hit better than like 73. Mm-hmm. With a sniper, I want a number that's a little bit higher. And it doesn't seem like they, relatively speaking, do that much damage. Mm. But on the whole, the classes feel more balanced.
Okay.
Because I actually use specialists.
Coming from a game that I played a bunch, like Team Fortress 2, I loved the specialist class. I loved having my little robot friend go and do damage or try to take control of enemy robots. One of my favorite classes. Mm-hmm. Because you get a little robot friend.
Well, yeah, that's another new thing. Hacking.
Yeah.
You can hack enemy robots and make them yours.
Only for a couple turns, and there's a lot of fun stuff in there as far as class upgrades, branching skill trees,
and psionics. That's its own class now. Psi soldiers.
The Psi soldiers.
Should say that.
Of course, it's a whole. I liked the Psi soldiers too.
Yeah,
but I felt like I had gotten by the time I had unlocked the Psi soldiers, and so every other class you rank through battle. Mm-hmm. The Psi soldiers, you have to build a special room in your base, and then they have to sit in a special room for a week, and that's how you rank up your Psi soldiers. Mm-hmm. By that point in the game, I had gotten so used to kills upgrading, it felt a little like hitting the brakes. I wanted to upgrade my Psi soldiers through battle, through combat, but they have to go to school.
Yeah,
to learn, which thematically makes sense.
That makes sense.
It felt like I was in a high gear and I had to like jam it down back into third. A little stunted. I liked them, but a little stunted.
Makes them too easy to level up.
That's it.
You just keep them in school till you think they're done.
Until the egg timer goes off.
Too valuable to bring out early. Mm-hmm. You want them to mature a bit. They got at least 3 good powers before you bring one on your team.
Oh yeah. But by the way, like you get 3 good powers on one, then you can put the other one, like another Psi soldier, in school for like a month, and they'll come out with 8 powers. And it's all fun. Like it's all fun, and I can understand someone really loving this game. Mm-hmm. Ton of replayability, a ton of customization. For someone like me who likes a little more action, a lot of it was tedious. The base management,
tedious. How would you call it tedious?
The base management, the map. So
for a turn-based game,
yeah.
I think XCOM is phenomenally paced. Phenomenally. The battles go just lightning quick. You get those either move twice or move once and do a shot, and it just do. It's great. It's a game where you can take your turn and take your turn. It's a game where you can take your time and just just really think about what you're going to do next. Like, oh no, I activated a bunch of aliens, and I gotta think my way through the situation. I can't be all willy nilly. Well, if I can use this guy to grenade him, they'll be exposed for this guy to shoot. Or I can, instead of using them to blow up the grenade, I can use the poison grenade to poison them. Their aim will be bad. You can think about it.
Absolutely. You can look in on every one of your soldiers on the battlefield. Look at their percentage. Look at where they can move, and you can
then execute quick.
Absolutely. You can make your plan.
It's great.
I just find
it's
it
fucking. It's like crack.
I just find it
It's like fucking crack.
Boring. I'm just not into it. It's because, strategy wise, it's all basically the same thing, which is, you try to flank them without getting flanked yourself, and you move in a team. They did do a couple things to up the pace that I really liked. The timer. I know a lot of people don't like the timer. I really liked the timer because that put the pressure on.
The go-to strategy in the first one.
It's the first one. It's fine.
Was to take your time and never dash. Almost never dash. And go into Overwatch, and hopefully they'll come to you and you'll get the first shot. But take your time and proceed slowly. Don't go up too far. You don't want the aliens to be revealed before you're ready for them.
Oh, here's good cover. I can only move 2 squares, but that's a full shield, so we want that full shield. Now someone else move up. Now go to Overwatch.
Yeah.
Now move 1 square. Move Overwatch.
They hunker down. They designed this system where you could like dash to places.
Yeah.
And nobody ever used it. So with this one, there's now, on most missions, not all, there's plenty that don't have a timer. There's a lot of missions, though, that do. And you've got, 6 turns to make it to the objective, which is another thing that's kind of new, objectives.
Did they not have objectives in
the pretty much every mission in the last one was kill all the aliens. Here's the area. Now you just kill all them aliens, and you're good. Kill all the aliens.
I like that.
Yeah. Now you gotta hack that thing before the timer goes down. If you fail this or that.
Yep.
Or you have to get everybody out in 12 turns, or they'll be captured.
Yep.
So there's a hurry up factor.
Yes, which is very nice. That's the one thing that makes this game a little more action focused. Is it forces you as a player to take a risk. I only have 4 more turns, and they're going to blow up this thing that I need to protect. I got to dash. I don't care if I run into an enemy.
I really need to prevent that dark event from happening.
Yes. And so that, I feel like, is a step in a more action-oriented direction, which I enjoy.
Now, at first, I hated the timer.
Yeah.
I hated the timer. I thought it made things stressful, and you'd lose some guys that get captured because you couldn't make it out in time with the timer. People kept telling me there's a mod that will nerf the timer. It'll add time to it. Yeah. It will pause it. It'll get rid of it entirely.
Yeah.
But I want to play the game the way the devs intended. They designed it this way. Let me see what happens. Yeah. So after about a day, I found I kind of liked it. Yeah. I liked it. I'm kind of, in hindsight, amazed at how well they balanced it, because I consistently make the objectives in the nick of time. 1 turn left, I did it. And I have, after getting used to it, I almost never fail because of the timer.
Right. And so anyone who complains about the timer might be a big old pussy. Is what you're saying.
Maybe. I don't know how the fuck they did it, but I mean, it's consistently I'm making it right at the wire. Almost every time.
No, it's. I think in a game that is like this, that is turn-based, where you can take all the time you want to plan out every movement, creating tension is an incredibly difficult thing. But with, permadeath of your soldiers and the timer, they have made turn-based strategy tense, and I think they should be applauded for that.
They also have Iron Man mode.
Iron Man mode, yes.
I should talk about this because it's one of those things I usually don't think about. Just my default XCOM setting is Iron Man mode, and anybody who doesn't play might not know this. There's a thing called save scumming. Jack, would you like to explain what save scumming is?
Rich, I am the save scum.
I know you are.
I am nothing but the save scum. So this is a throwback to older video games before autosaves and before checkpoints. Really, is the thing.
Back when you still had control over the games you bought.
So save scumming has been replaced by checkpoints, in which at any point during a game you could manually save and say, manually save after this great big battle I won. Or what I do in XCOM is I save at the beginning of every mission. My soldiers get down on the field, save. Because then if I lose too many soldiers, I should go on and get new recruits and keep playing the game with dead soldiers. But instead of that, I just load the save, and it's like none of that ever happened.
And you can do things differently, and you know where the aliens are this time.
I'll know where all the aliens are because it won't randomly generate a new field, and it's a lot easier. And the reason it's called save scumming is because when you do it, you're a scumbag. Because I feel like a scumbag every time I save scum, but I'm still a rookie. I'm new at the game.
Jack, it's a single player game.
Yeah.
And you can play it however that makes you happy. You can play it in the way that makes you happy, and that's fine. Me, I like to have Iron Man mode on, which they don't let you reload saves. The game has one save file.
Yep.
It's auto-saving constantly. So if your beloved soldier, Colonel Sanders, dies, you can't reload the save before he died to save him. He is dead. And he's always going to be dead. And he's dead because you probably fucked something up, Commander. And you have to live with that. And you have to go on. You have to try to win the war without Colonel Sanders.
You can't win without the Colonel. I'm sorry. You know that to be true.
And that is Iron Man mode.
That's probably the way you should play it. I'm... As a noob, as a rookie, I was just trying to learn the game.
Yeah.
And so a little save scum here or there. I used it a lot.
My very first time through the original XCOM, that's what I did.
And you know what? I found I was using it a lot early on, just because I was learning about the game.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's destructible walls? I didn't know there were destructible walls. I could blow up a wall to get to an alien to break their cover? Oh, save scum next time. Now I know that, right? I found as the game went on, even if I lost a soldier, I would keep going. I had learned to not save scum so much, except for on the final mission, which is what I'm on now. In which I've lost twice.
I'll talk about the final mission when we talk about difficulty, but
sure.
But the other new thing, the other big change, to gameplay, concealment.
Concealment, yes.
A lot of games you start off in concealment.
Wow.
Did I say that right?
No,
a lot of
you're not
games
even
you start
talking.
off in concealment,
Yeah.
which is kind of like stealth. Nobody can see you when you first start off a mission, usually. And you can set up ambushes that way, like the aliens don't see you. So you get the cover kind of near them and around them, and you set off for an ambush. Like you put that sniper that had that cone of that kill zone skill, and you focus that on the aliens who can't see you, and then you put other people in Overwatch, and then you have somebody throw a grenade at the aliens, and then the aliens jump and they run around, and your soldiers take their Overwatch shots, and you get like an ambush on them.
It's really satisfying.
It's really satisfying, but it just wants permission. It doesn't feel like it's that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. It's like a big feature, but
It's just one permission, except for your rangers can go into it again.
What is kind of neat, you can have a ranger skill that keeps them in concealment, and you can kind of use them as a scout, which is nice.
Or put them back into concealment after they've been.
If they have that power.
But also, the ambushes come into play when enemies call in reinforcements, which I think is very neat.
Yes, but that doesn't have much to do with concealment.
Oh, no, I'm just saying the ambush.
That's just a good old-fashioned Overwatch trap, which is old hat to me.
Ambushing is incredibly satisfying. Getting a chance to get all of your pieces in place before an alien lands and just murdering them all. This is my murder gun. One of the things I have looping in the background is a perfect ambush that I laid on an enemy.
I had one mission where just everything went like perfect every time. Everybody died via Overwatch shot.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great?
The Muton, which is one of the aliens,
Yeah.
big fat monster alien, and
Anteater looking nose.
Stun
yeah.
Lancer. They both walked into my shotguns. They walked like, oh go, there are people here, and then we just murdered them. And then aliens in the house, they came out to see what was going on, which I'm sure they just happened to wander out. They didn't just come to see what was going on, but it felt that way.
That was the story. In your
And
head.
then they got murdered by other people who were on Overwatch, and it was just kind of great. I killed like 5 aliens in one go. And another change from the first one. They kind of made Overwatch more useful. Back in the first one, Overwatch, everybody would just take a shot at once at the first alien they saw. So everyone's just like, you got 5 people shooting at one alien, and if he dies after the first shot, it's a complete fucking waste.
Yes.
Here, everybody takes a turn with their Overwatch shot, so they're not just shooting at the one alien. They shoot at the one until he's dead, and then everyone else shoots at someone else.
That's helpful.
Much nicer.
Can we talk for a moment about something that I did not like about the game?
Go ahead.
The alien design.
Okay.
I found it to be rather boring.
I would agree with you.
The main alien that you fight is basically, I want to say, like Jay kind of nailed it, is RoboCop. It's just, it looks like a man in a RoboCop suit.
Yeah.
And that's who you're fighting.
New
most of the
RoboCop.
time. New RoboCop, not old.
Yeah. Well, in my mind, there only is one RoboCop. There's just the one.
I know in the first XCOM, the first and main alien that you're fighting are the little sectoids.
Yeah.
And they kind of look like the big-headed, tiny aliens. And that was kind of fun. And I feel like we're fighting some more boring enemies this time.
It goes to theming the first game
Yeah.
called Enemy Unknown, and that was kind of part of the theming, discovering these new weird aliens and their weird technology and what do they want. It was all about the mystery. Like the first thing you encounter are the sectoids. And,
Yeah.
You know, they got no mouth and they're creepy and they're weird. And then you discover the Thin Men, and they're also kind of creepy because they look human, but they're not really. They're kind of the alien's best attempt at making something look human, and every alien design is just more bizarre and weird than the next.
Yeah.
And then in this one, most of the aliens are just boring-looking dudes.
Yeah.
It's mostly you fighting human-looking soldiers, and then there's a few aliens scattered here and there, and for the most part, their designs aren't bad. On the aliens,
But
the
you're-
Archon, you know, this kind of gladiatorial, fancy-ass-looking flying alien, that's a neat-looking alien, but you're mostly fighting the Advent soldiers, or just guys with armor and helmets. It's not as fun as fighting sectoids and floaters.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You know, even something like what's the floating orb?
A gatekeeper.
The Gatekeeper. Fun idea. This nebulous orb that has like energy tentacles when it opens up, but it's just kind of an orb. It's a ball.
Did you ever see a
Fighting ball.
Cyberdisc in the first one?
No.
I should look them up. They either look like these like a mini flying saucer, like a disc. But then they open up and they got all these like robot tentacles and spiky things that come out of them. They're fucking awesome looking. In Enemy Unknown, that fucking Cyberdisc is just the best designed robot in many a year.
I like a lot of the robot designs, like the Sectopod. The
Yeah.
kind of like big two-legged
Competent ED-209.
Yes, like that's a neat looking. I love the. Oh, what's the one where you have it has 2 phases where you kill it once and then it's a robot body.
Oh, the Andromedon and the Andromedon. It's got some kind of name. I forget what it is.
The androgynous alien.
That's not what it is.
You don't like that? No. The Andromedon is really neat because you're fighting what is a giant robot
It's
suit.
also a pain in the ass, but yes, it's really neat.
That's actually why I love it most. Look, you know, you come across this giant robot suit, and it's got a shit ton of health and armor, and you're fucked. And you finally whittle it down. You kill it your first time. None of your soldiers are ranked up enough to really kill it. Because then after you defeat it, it has a second form where it has a dead alien flopping out of its robot body.
But the mechanics in the suit still work.
Brilliant. I was so happy when I first came. I mean, obviously, I was fucked because, I think it killed a lot of my people. And then it's like spewing toxic ooze as this dead alien is flopping around in it. That is by far my favorite enemy. It's unique. It like has this like alien robo hybrid thing. It's a pain in the ass. It's a great battle.
You didn't play much of the first one. You should look up a Mechtoid.
A Mechtoid.
You know the Sectoids?
Yes, I know.
Put one in like a mecha suit.
Ooh, okay, I like that. I like that. By contrast to this really fun alien robo hybrid, you have the
Advent soldier,
the Advent
the
soldier.
Advent officer, the Advent shield soldier, the Advent stun lancer. They're all just dudes.
They're just dudes. Just dudes.
I know.
And most disappointing of all is your main enemy, is the Avatar.
Yeah, okay, yes, the Avatar. The Avatar is the new form of the Ethereal. In the previous game, the Ethereal is this tall, kind of regal alien with like this long, thin robe, the bright red robe that just hangs down and they kind of float off the ground. And they got this weird headpiece on, looks kind of like an anvil. And underneath the robe, they got this shriveled purple body and these four arms that come out and they do their psychic powers. Really, really neat visual. And in the new game, they're just a dude with a gun
And anime hair.
anime hair. They still got psychic powers, but visually they're just a dude with anime hair and a gun. It's kind of a letdown. Plot-wise and theming, it goes along with what they're going with. See, the first game was discovering the unknown aliens.
Right.
And this is more like the aliens have taken over and the aliens are absorbing us for their own purposes. So, theming-wise, I can see why they did it.
Oh, you say that so begrudgingly.
I do.
It makes sense, but I hate it.
Because it does make sense.
Yeah. But I hate it.
But it
It's
also
boring.
looks worse.
Yeah. And like, much like my problem with the enemy designs in Dragon's Dogma, this might come from the fact that, I've been recently playing Bloodborne, and that has amazing monster designs, but, like, some of the aliens were really cool. The Mutons, that's fun. Like, big, fat anteater alien that shoots bombs. That's a fun alien. The Sectopod, fun robot. The Andromedon, fun alien robot hybrid. And then you got dudes. You got dudes in armor. A little disappointing.
Gameplay-wise, I think they do more interesting things, more interesting abilities, like the shield soldier, he gives everyone around him a shield.
Yep.
Anything like that in the first one. Like, most of the enemies just ran around and tried to shoot at you. You got some really brutal melee enemies, and I guess we're going into difficulty here.
Sure, we can go into. Listen, we're free-forming it tonight. We started writing notes. And
to
we just
describe
said,
the
fuck it,
difficulties we have.
Stun lancers will fuck your shit up. They just charge at you with their sword baton thing, and they can move far further than you think they should. Like in the first game, there was nothing that could melee you after a dash.
Oh, okay.
Now everything melees after a dash, and a melee unit that's halfway across the map can get to you and murder you in one turn. And so they're very dangerous. There's a lot of dangerous things in this game. They have abilities that are just, oh my god.
Yes.
Why can you do that?
Because in this game, you are the resistance. You are the underdog. There's something very snide that I want to say about this game, which is in the first XCOM, you represent a secret military organization, and aliens attack, and your secret military organization uses like a really cool airplane to fly around the globe and fight aliens, and you have the resources and manpower of the entire Earth to help you fight the aliens, right? And in this game, the aliens have won, and now you're a ragtag military organization. But you still got a really cool flying machine, and apparently you still have the resources and manpower of the entire world. And it kind of feels very samey.
I'm going to disagree with you because I think the Resistance theme is very strong in this one.
Okay.
For one, there's the whole concealment bit,
Yeah.
which I'm a little bit disappointed because I don't, you get one real good use out of it, but all right, fine. But still, it's sneaking around like you're the Resistance, you're the underdogs.
Yeah.
You can't just go in guns blazing because you're going to get outgunned. So you take the sneaky route. So that's reflected in the gameplay. The timer is a reflection of the Resistance theming because if you're a guerrilla group, you're going to hit hard and get out of there before reinforcements show up.
Yeah. All right.
So it fits there, and you talk about having the resources of the entire world. You really don't.
You fly around.
Really don't. I find in the other half, we talked about the tactical combat layer a lot, but there's this whole strategic layer with the globe, and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Where you're managing your base and whatnot. I always found supplies to be running low.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Constantly.
You are in contact with some other small groups around the world, and they give you what they can. It never feels like it goes that far. I thought the first game had kind of somewhat of a linear progression. Like you upgrade to this gun, you upgrade to that gun, you build the officer training center, then you build there's an order to these things. Then you get psionics here. I feel like you're more open with what you can do earlier. Like you can get psionics pretty damn early if you want. But you don't have necessarily the resources to build everything. Like, you want the psionics early, but you also got to build the officer training school. And, well, you really need that hospital because so many people get wounded.
But more important than that, you need the comms because you need extra...
But you need this, and you need that, and you need this, and I need this, but I only got the resources to build 2 of them.
Yeah. Okay. I get, I think you're right about the theming.
You feel like you're stretching your resources as far as you can. In the first one, I wasn't afraid to just sell everything, and I can buy this, and that. You really can't do that anymore because, even the things you could sell in last one, like corpses, you could sell alien corpses. I got a shitload of sectoids. I'll just sell half my fucking sectoids, and I could buy a radar now. You have more use for the bodies though, because you need the bodies when you build this or that. You need 75 alien corpses to build the Launcher Mach X2. So I can't
out of alien corpses.
You go to the black market, which is where you buy and sell stuff, and you don't want to sell anything because I need these things. I need the supplies to build things, but I also need the things I need to sell. All right. So it's actually a pretty decent balancing act.
All right, you know what? I will retract my snide comment.
Okay.
I will retract it. That makes sense because yes, I do. I love that part where you have to take account of every sectoid corpse. Because in order to upgrade that gun, for some reason, you need sectoid corpses, and we're using every part of the buffalo, and I think that's fun.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I went to the black market once when it opened up, and I never went.
Oh no! There's some neat stuff you can buy.
Yeah.
You can buy some decent scopes and whatnot.
I just picked those up off corpses. I got that get bonus corpse loot upgrade pretty early.
There's a corpse looting thing in here where sometimes when you kill something without blowing it up, which has some incentive not to use grenades, which are highly effective, but they drop loot like you get a scope for your gun, or you can get an extended magazine thing for your gun that drops when something dies.
Yeah.
And you can individually customize your soldiers' guns. If you find the really nice scope, you might want to put that on your sniper.
Absolutely.
Because the snipers have shit aim in XCOM 2.
My favorite one was
or the extended magazine. You put that on a heavy because they only get 3 shots normally, so you want a few more before you have to reload.
Yeah. Or the advanced stock was one of my favorite, where even if you miss a shot, it still does a little bit of damage. Love that one.
While avoiding spoilers at the end when there's certain things you have to kill that are difficult to kill.
Yeah.
I got one with the execution perk on one of the guns. Nice. 10% chance to automatically kill regardless of how much damage you did. Execution. Got her. Got that fucker. Yeah. That was really satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is.
You ever kill a sectopod in one hit because of that?
Oh my god, no. In fact, I've never instantly killed anyone. I have that.
Yeah.
I have that on a couple of my guns, and I don't have the hours that you have in it, though. Obviously.
Yeah.
One more thing I'd like to talk about. Obviously, more things we can talk about, but one thing in particular that I wanted to mention, along along the lines of my see how the sausage is made. You're removed from the world because you're the commander.
Your Windows did something. I could swear it restarted itself. That was not a crash. It was doing that shutting down thing.
This is Windows 7. This is Windows 7. This does not have.
Is it set to auto update?
It never has.
With
before.
Windows 10, I don't think they gave you the option, but
It never has before. But who knows? But you know what? We're back.
okay. Where were we?
I was about to make an amazing and well thought out point.
Oh, good. About time.
Pardon me. Here's what's going to happen. So I was talking about on the chessboard.
Yeah.
You get full view of your cover, right? You hide behind a car and
There's
it's
a shield.
a little half shield, right? Or you hide behind a big concrete pole and it's a full shield to cover, right? A problem I have along the lines of seeing how the sausage is made, seeing the random number generator, seeing the percentage shot.
All valuable tactical information that you can use to make decisions as opposed to just random shit that's just happening with no input from you.
All very
important feedback.
Very valuable information that's integral to the gameplay as the commander.
Yes.
A sausage problem.
Aside from us getting
That's just what I'm going to call it. That's just what I'm going to call it.
Sausage, not a problem, but okay.
A sausage problem I have is
Just a tasty sausage.
none of the world is distinct.
New orders, Commander.
You know, you fight in a forest, you fight in the city, you fight in abandoned villages, right? Mm-hmm. I never pay any attention to that. The only thing I'm looking at is what shield is there. Okay, I don't see an abandoned car. I see a half shield. I don't see a tree in the forest. I see a full shield. I'm not getting absorbed into the world because all I see is the tactical information.
I'm going to agree and disagree.
Ooh.
Yes. I don't see it as just the tactical information.
Yeah.
I do see it as a world. I think there's a little bit more variety than you're giving it credit for. You got the rundown shacks of like the resistance kind of areas where
Yeah.
you're trying to live outside of the alien influence. And then you have the very, very nice and beautifully laid out alien cities. Mm-hmm. But there's only really like 2 or 3 different types of environment.
Yeah.
One of the big differences between this game and the last game, right? The last game used pre-made maps.
Okay.
So every time you got the gas station map, it was always the gas station map with no variety.
Enemy placement would be varied, yeah? Or
There was only limited placements, though.
Okay.
And you could they're very likely to be here.
Gotcha.
So you knew where to take the good cover. You knew where the aliens probably were.
Uh-huh.
And although there were a lot of maps, if you played it enough, like me, 1,000 hours, you got to know them pretty well. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of variety, though.
Okay.
A lot of different types of areas. Mm-hmm. The construction yard, or the gas station, or the supermarket. These places all look different.
Okay.
What XCOM 2 does, and from a gameplay perspective, is actually much better. Is there's some randomization going off in the maps. Like there's some. I think they reference it to being like a quilt. Like there's different types of buildings, but they get assembled differently. It's I don't know if it's quite procedurally generated, but
it's patches. It's
there's
like
there's patches, so you're not getting that same map layout experience the whole time, and you know the enemies are going to be here because it's always going to be different, but it does seem like there's less variety in the environments. Mm-hmm. You get, instead of like the gas station map, and the grocery store map, and the rocks, and then, there's the forest, and there's all these different, there's rundown city, normal city, and maybe like wintry rundown city.
Winter, yeah.
You get less visual variety, but more like actual layout variety, which, on the whole, I'll take the way the second one does it because
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You can't memorize the maps.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, for me, it would have made no difference had you removed the trees in the forest level and just made everything a polygon square.
That's weird to me because I don't see it that way at all.
And, you know, it's...
I'm still hiding behind that tree.
Right, and that's part of my sausage problem, is it's hard for me to get engrossed in the game because all I see is that half a shield. Oh, if I hide behind here, it's a half a shield, and that's what I need to know. It's better if I hide behind that full shield, so I'm going to hide behind that full shield.
Never had that problem. Okay.
This is my thing.
Okay.
Okay.
That's your opinion. I can't disagree with it.
You can...
What? Yes, that's your opinion.
Maybe you haven't been on the internet. You should try. You should try.
I still see it as piles of tires and cars that I'm hiding behind.
Yeah,
Just, there's also a shield that gives me some valuable tactical feedback. Mm-hmm. This cover is so good compared to that other area over there. Mm-hmm. But I still see it as, what it's supposed to be in game.
Oh, sure. No, and I'm sure there's a mod to take away the shields or do something or whatnot. It would be nice if you could toggle that, like toggle shield view. Just play with that.
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like I said, this is all valuable feedback. But that's
It
valuable
is.
feedback.
Yep.
The aiming percentages, valuable feedback.
Very important to the type of game it is.
You want to know if you're taking a smart shot or a dumb shot.
Of course. All of that is information that leads you to making the best tactical decision, which is
If your chance to hit
why
is
I don't like it.
if your chance to hit is 15, you're
Yeah.
better off either going into Overwatch or moving somewhere else, or trying to flank or throwing a grenade. But you don't want to take that 15% chance to hit. You don't want that.
This is what I'm saying is I agree with you,
Yeah.
but these are the reasons why I'm not that into it.
All right.
I really truly believe that XCOM 2 is a wonderfully competent game. I think that every battle won was earned. Every loss was earned. I did something dumb. Mm-hmm. All the right numbers are there to make it a good game, and I'm just not that into it.
Mm-hmm. How do you, before we wrap it up?
Okay.
How do you feel about the difficulty? So that's something worth talking about.
I am playing on Rookie,
Yeah.
and I hit a point mid-game. I felt difficulty was spot on at the beginning. I was struggling. It was very challenging, but very rewarding for every win. I hit a point mid-game where I started to upgrade my stuff, and I was breezing through until the last mission in which I'm getting my ass handed to me. So I want to say 30% spot on difficulty, 65% way too easy, last 5% really fucking hard.
So this is one of my issues with the first game, really.
Yeah.
It's like an inverted difficulty curve,
Okay.
and the first few months are the most challenging, where you could really easily get steamrolled by the aliens if your tactics are bad. And then you hit the mid game and you're about on par with the aliens. You're duking it out, and then you get to the late game and you're just knocking them over. You're knocking them out of the park.
Yeah.
And as many hours as I have in XCOM, I got to admit, a lot of times I just play like the first few months. I get until like the first main story event, and then I just kind of quit. Because at that point, I know I'm on the rails, and the victory is basically assured.
Really?
Yeah, I still enjoy the fuck out of it. And every now and then, I'll still play through the whole game.
Sure.
Because it's fun. It's fun sometimes steamrolling the aliens.
Yes.
But the early months are where it's at.
Okay.
And I was really hoping they'd fix that problem, like truly get a lid on it. Not really. On the whole, I think it's harder. On the whole.
Okay.
Like, as an XCOM veteran,
Yeah.
I turned this game on the first time, and I went to like the third highest difficulty level.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably about where I'm at.
I think everyone saw that.
Everyone
live.
saw that we streamed that live.
Yeah.
And I did get my ass handed to me. Repeatedly.
Yeah.
And then I went down to veteran. I'm still kind of getting my ass handed to me repeatedly. But then, once I kind of got used to the new mechanics, and I realized that debuffing the enemies is more important this time around. So I bring more like stun, flash. I adjusted my tactics.
Yeah.
And the curve's about the same as it was now in the first one. It starts off still challenging, tough, easy to lose people, and then you hit that point where clear sailing for the most part. I still though occasionally lose people late game.
Okay.
So it's not a walk in the park. It's never so easy that I can just let my guard down and breeze through the game like I can in the later parts of the first one.
There's a different...
But it's still a lot easier near the end.
You hit a point in which it feels easier. Even though like you're still paying attention, you're still on a time crunch for most missions, you're still... You still, like, half of your team comes back gravely wounded, but it feels different. And maybe it's supposed to. Maybe, like, that's you, like, building confidence as a Rebel commander. But still, I felt a significant drop in tension after 30%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Well,
we can agree on that.
except the last mission.
Except for the last mission, which I have not beaten, and I don't think I will. It's just too hard.
The last mission in the first one is just such a fucking letdown.
Yeah.
Such a fucking letdown. There's like 5 aliens. the villain talks a lot. There's like 5 aliens, so you get to the last room, and then you just shoot the one head alien a couple times, and you won.
Oh.
It's a really unsatisfying final mission. They took that feedback to heart.
How many enemies are you facing in the average mission in XCOM 2?
9 to 11.
9 to 11. Maybe 12, like, if it's a really difficult mission. And how many enemies do you face in the final mission?
Well, not counting the very end where they just keep spawning, it's 33.
33 enemies on one map.
It's a fucking climax now.
It's a giant map, too, which is great.
It's a fucking climax. I kind of love it.
I can't beat it. I cannot beat it. I've failed, I want to say 3 times, and I've gone to my save scum because I saved right at the beginning, and I just cannot fucking beat that final mission.
The difficult, it's like where you can barely handle it, but you come through. That's the last mission. I think it's great. That's just me.
It's a great mission, and the map is different than any other map because most maps are I don't want to call them small maps, but I think they're small. Here you have this giant corridor, and you just keep running into enemies. It is a gauntlet, and it's just a little too tough for me. I don't know if I'm gonna. I was hoping. I'm not that into the game. I was hoping to at least beat it once. And I don't think that's going to happen.
All right.
I'm there at the last level, and I've tried 3 times and failed 3 times. I don't know if I care enough to try a 4th.
Oh, I love it. I went through Iron Man on Veteran, beat it.
Yeah.
Then I went through Commander, and I'm almost at the end again on my second Commander playthrough.
Nice.
So I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. I think that's great.
I think it's telling for me that it took me like years to get 1,000 hours in the original XCOM. I've already got 200 in the new one.
That's great. I'm glad that you enjoyed. I'm glad. I know you were worried, especially playing first. Oh yeah, I'll stream this. The hardest, the super veteran command. Everything's gonna be great. And you just got your ass handed to you. It was beautiful.
Well, yeah, it was.
It was a beautiful bit of Schadenfreude.
It was. The XCOM doesn't hold your hand.
Yeah.
It does get easier, but that's because you've gotten better at the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Well, I was worried that too many things were different where you as a veteran XCOM player were going to not like it. So I'm happy that you like it.
It's the weird thing is when I first started playing it, everything felt different. Now that I've had more time, it doesn't feel that different.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, that's just not being used to new visuals or something. I don't know what, but...
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Seems like more enemies have more health, but poorer aim as compared to the first one.
Yes. They miss a lot.
They miss a lot.
They have a shit ton of health, though.
Unless they want to melee your ass, at which point they're just fucking deadly bastards.
So you recommend?
Oh, yeah. Of course
Well,
I do.
that's pretty obvious.
Duh.
200 hours.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a recommendation. I think that speaks highly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you recommend it
No.
for what it's worth? Really? Wow. Wow.
But people know me.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. You're a Twitch gamer.
I'm an
not the
action-
streaming service. You're a Twitch gamer.
I enjoy action games. I enjoy being up in the mud. And in this game, you are the commander.
Roger that.
You control all the soldiers, and I want to be the soldier. So I think you have to know yourself as a gamer. Like,
You know what?
What?
Make one of the soldiers bald and name him after you. That'll be you. And if that character dies, you have to restart the game.
Oh, okay. I like that.
There you go.
I'll be a
Now you have no excuses.
Now I want to pull the trigger. So I don't, it's just one of those things where I think you'll know you know before you play this game whether or not you're going to be into it. If you are into tactical turn-based strategy, this game gets a lot right. I'm just not into it, but
If you're into tactical turn-based combat,
Good copy. Moving on target.
this is new.
what?
Oh.
What's new?
Dragon's Dogma.
You're off to a great start, Jack.
I feel like I'm off to a great
Dragon's Dogma is the old role-playing game by Capcom Games that is now new again on Steam.
This came out a few years ago on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and has been given new life on the PC.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a strange thing because it wasn't really a major hit. Like I don't think I even heard about it at the time. Dragon's Dogma was just a moderate, low-key-ish game that came out on the consoles a few years ago, and now it's been released on Steam, and it's fairly popular on Steam right now. I mean, I wonder, what other games in the recent past that they could do this with. I mean, people could probably make money this way by re-releasing an older game that had extremely good gameplay, and then just putting it on the PC where you get HD resolutions and you can use the keyboard and mouse. Just any old game.
So Dragon's Dogma is an open world fantasy RPG.
Yes.
There be dragons and goblins and ogres and wizards and everything that's in every other medieval fantasy RPG is in Dragon's Dogma.
Here's the word I use for it. It's generic fantasy.
Yes.
It's as generic as you get. Like sometimes maybe they'll try and put like a spin on the fantasy to make it a little bit more unique, a little bit their own thing. Like Thief is a fantasy world, but it's got like Alice in Wonderland weird elements and steampunk elements. No, this is just straight. You got elves and it's not even elves.
No elves.
You got dragons. You got dragons and goblins. You got sword. And this kingdom and villages.
You got knights and you got magicians. Like this is straight up the Once and Future King kind of setting. It's Tolkien without the elves or hobbitses. Maybe there's a hobbits. I didn't see any.
Rich,
It's the Emperor.
it's the. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Now witness the power of my fully operational Cyclops.
I'm afraid the Cyclops is fully operational.
Oh, Tiny Smalls will die.
Story-wise, you play the Arisen. And the Arisen is a very powerful warrior
He's a player character.
for some reason.
He's this generic. You are destined to slay the dragon. There's the story.
yeah,
by the way.
Why are you destined to slay the dragon?
Because it's a generic fantasy. You slay the dragon. That's what you do. You knight. Here's your sword. Go at it. You know what to do. Do it.
Like, why are you the Arisen? Why are you the hero of the land? What makes you special? Nothing. Nothing. Nothing makes sense.
You were chosen because you're the player.
Because you're the
To save the fantasy world, the generic fantasy world. What do you want? What do you want, Jack?
What I'm looking for is like, you know what I want to be? I want to be the schmuck in the village who decides to fight for a reason.
You pick that reason. That's why the character is given no dialogue. In my head, when I played this game, right, my character was a retired warrior. Lost some people he knew in battle and was sick of the whole thing, and then he just wanted to settle down and be a fisherman for a while until this dragon attacks, and it draws him back into the action.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Oh, God.
What?
Dragons. Man, I don't care about dragons.
There is someone who is furiously masturbating to this cutscene as we speak.
Yeah. Oh, look at that dragon. Oh, fuck yeah. Look at that dragon. Oh, he's eating other dragons. Oh, fuck yeah.
Here's what I want to say. Here's how I want to start this off.
Yeah.
I have very complicated feelings about Dragon's Dogma.
Okay.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Except for some very specific things, right? So I loved every part of it, except I hated the setting, and I hated the story, and I hated the combat, and I hated the pawn system, and I hated every single side quest, and I hated every single main story quest. I hated every individual part of this game, yet somehow managed to have a very good time playing it.
I mean, I don't know that each individual element is
Well, for me it was bad.
bad. I'd say a lot of the individual elements kind of range from like C to D. Maybe one aspect of the game is like a B, but overall, the game is more than the sum of its parts.
There she is. There's Babs.
You're calling her Babs, huh?
Well, her real name is Betty Boobs. You didn't see that? I put in her name. It was Betty Boobs. But her nickname is Babs.
The characters.
Sure.
D minus. D minus.
Yep.
Like we already talked about the player character. You're the Arisen. No details are given. Silent protagonist, which by the way is something I typically hate. The silent protagonist. I hate it when you talk to an NPC and they act like you're saying something when you said nothing.
Every person you run into is that same slate of medieval fantasy.
Every NPC is I want to say dull character.
Everyone is flat and dull. There's nothing to give life.
Sometimes there's an accent. I am the general, but I am also French.
Interacting with characters is part of the game. You know, you're supposed to go on all these side quests. You're supposed to learn about the village through all of these NPCs, but every single one of them is a dullard. I work in a farm. Sometimes I farm.
The weird thing is the pawns.
Yes, very strange.
Right? You like one of the earliest things that happen to you in this game is you find out you're the special destined Arisen.
You're the Arisen.
You're gonna face and slay the dragon, maybe. And the gods, the rift, the powers that be, give you your own person that you basically own. You're given a slave in this game.
You're given a slave. You're a slave owner.
Now, like you'd think though, like in an RPG that your party would all have a lot of their own characters and there'd be dialogue between the party and character dynamics going on there. The weird thing about your pawns is they're creepy, willless, soulless people. They're specifically people with no will of their own. The only guidance they get is the guidance that your character gives them.
They have a special thing in the game called the learning chair, which is like a timeout corner for your pawns, and you have to sit them down, and if they're not behaving correctly, you tell them what to do.
Like you put your main slave, because I'm not going to call them pawn, they're your slaves. You put your main slave in the timeout chair, and then you have like the the performance review meeting with them. You sit down 2 across the table from them. And then your slave is like, Master. And they always call you Master, which is creepy in and of itself almost. When I say things in battle, I tend to be very confident. Do you like that? And you could say, no, I want you to be, and you got like a less arrogant or timid, and you tell them what their personality is. And it's the creepiest thing ever. It's like you're traveling around with this group of soulless mannequins.
Yeah, no, it's very weird. And so you have your main slave, but then you can also grab 2 additional slaves literally off the street. You can go into the magic stone to grab more slaves, or you can just see a slave on the street and say, you're mine now, and they go, of course, master, I will serve you.
Eagle Joe Blow-Me.
Eagle Joe Blow-Me. My name is Jablomi. My friends call me Eagle. And you just look at him and you're like, you don't have any friends, do you? No. But if I did, they'd call me Eagle. There's 2 kinds of fights that in my head. There's 2 kinds of fight. There's the man-sized fights, and then there's the beasts fights.
Yes.
And the man-sized fights, I'm going to say are worse than generic. You're pressing 1 button.
Not the deepest combat system.
Nope. You got Fire Blaze.
My combo is XXX, XXX,
Yep.
XXXXXXX.
That seems about right. Look for more goblins. You got Fire Blaze. So you have your light attack and your heavy attack, and then you can equip some special attacks.
Your primary and secondary weapon, you can each store like 3 attacks, and you have a lot to choose from. So you can kind of design your own character that way.
But really, it all boils down to just like, what's the most efficient way to kill someone? And for all the man-sized enemies, I always found the most. And I played as the ranger, so I had 2 daggers. So my most effective attack was just the light attack, spam. That was it. And every once in a while, I'd hang back and use my bow and arrow because I got a cool magic bow and arrow. But I found everything that was not a giant beast, I found to be terribly unsatisfying combat.
Didn't you try switching out your classes at all? You can vary up your play style by choosing a new class. Like
Absolutely. And I did try, I tried the warrior because I like big, dumb hammers, and that was kind of fun, but not.
It was different. Can you give it that? It was very different.
It's very different, and so finding your perfect fighting style is probably in there. But again, I just found it bland.
Now I'm going to say this about the combat, because maybe this is just our mindset, because we were both just recently playing a lot of the new Bloodborne DLC. Isn't just about anything compared to Bloodborne like a huge step down? Especially this, because it's kind of average combat to begin with, and you go from Bloodborne to average, and it's like, well, oh my god!
It really shows, Bloodborne, but not even Bloodborne, you look at something like the Batman multi-person combat system. You look at something where you can chain together attacks for combos.
Ninja Gaiden.
Give me combos, fucking light, heavy. Give me something more than light attack, heavy attack, heavy attack, light attack, light. Her name is Quinoa. You know what that is? It's like a rice dish. Kill her and eat her.
All right.
Oh my god, you're really killing her! But, and you and I experienced this firsthand while playing that first 4 hours of this game.
Yeah.
The beast fights.
Pretty neat.
Awesome. I like that. That was it. That was the whole game for me. That's what made it a good game for me, was finding the beast.
Well, I think that's what the game was pretty much designed around, the beast fights. I don't think they cared about the roving bands of goblins and bandits as much, because it's not even it's like just the open world. This game is an open world, and the open world is basically littered with boss fights. that you'll just encounter while exploring the woods. Like, you're just walking down the forest with your party, and suddenly a fucking griffin jumps out of the sky and starts attacking you.
Yep. And you know what? Sometimes it flies away, and sometimes you can defeat it.
They have weak points. You can like attack the wings to ground the griffin. You can climb up on top of a monster, and you can like start attacking like this is like a cyclops in the middle of the road. You jump on the cyclops' arm, you just start wailing away at his arm, and eventually you're going to injure his arm, and he's going to drop the club.
Yeah. These epic boss fights, like did you?
Better than the Bloodborne boss fights, arguably.
Oh, way better than the Bloodborne boss fights. They're these giant. My favorite monsters were the stone golems that had these glowing weak spots all over them. So you'd have to crawl and stab the glowing weak spot, and then like eventually it would explode and it would go crazy. It was. Oh, I loved it.
I was just my favorite boss fight. I was just randomly exploring the woods, and a gigantic fucking dragon started shooting fire at me, and I was like, I was having trouble getting away from it, and so I was like, fuck it, I'm fighting the dragon. And somehow I won because he had the glowing weak spot in his chest, and every now and then would go up to roar, and then you shoot the arrow and you hit the weak spot. And it was neat. It was fun.
It was really neat. You know, it was basically like micro Shadow of the Colossuses.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So the fights are great. Again, to roll into a problem, the Chimera, whatever, right?
Oh, the chimeras.
Chimeras, yeah.
Chimera?
Chimera, maybe.
What are they? Chimera,
You're walking in the
tomato, lion, goat, snake.
The lion, goat, snake. Because that's the thing. These are generic ancient monsters.
Yeah.
And, you know, the ancients didn't have a big
log
imagination.
thingy. And this one is probably not going to be super popular, but here's what I would ask. I would ask that you listen to me with an open mind here, and I would ask that you at least try to understand my position before you just start downvoting me to try to shut me up. Because, let's face it, brigading does not work on me. Happens to me all the time, I don't care, my thoughts aren't going to change. What will change my mind is a good argument. Or somebody saying something that should, well, basically get me to think about the situation a little bit deeper or in a different direction. You know, calling me a cuck or a cuckservative or a Jew or whatever, I think you're an asshole and I don't care what you say. So, with that said, you can tell by the title of the video that I really don't have a high opinion of Vox Day's comic from what I'm seeing of it called Alt Hero. So Vox Day is a alt-right guy. He calls himself an alt-right guy constantly, and he continues to, you know, espouse alt-right ideas quite frequently. You know, I don't like the man, so we'll get that out there right out of the gate. But then again, there are a lot of people who create comic books and so on and so forth that I don't like as a person, you know, may never like as a person, may never get along with them, but I'll still compliment their work. I don't think I would ever get along with Mike Costa, the current writer for Venom, but his Venom book is really, really fucking good. You know, I don't know if I would ever get along with even someone like Christopher Priest, but his Deathstroke right now is amazing. I've lauded his Black Panther over and over and over again, and I will continue to do so. I love Mark Waid's Captain America, so me not liking someone doesn't mean that I am not going to buy their product, because I think that I can buy a pizza from a Hillary supporter, I can get a drink at a bar from a Bernie Sanders supporter. I'm pretty sure that I can enjoy a comic book by somebody whose politics I don't like if there's something, you know, enjoyable about it. I mean, think about this for a second. Who's one of my favorite authors? H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft as a human being was a detestable person, but an incredibly creative mind. And that's the point. That's why I enjoy his work so much, is because what he created was worth purchasing. So, that's my perspective on Vox Day. You know, I'm willing to give something that he creates a shot, even though I think that he's not really a good person. So, there is a book that he's putting out again called Alt Hero, and I have to say, this doesn't look good at all. Like, the art is okay. It actually has a sense of lighting in some of these, pages that he's put out for people to see so far. But it's very clearly right-wing extremist influenced, which is what he is. I mean, you've got this guy who is draped in a European Union flag, beating up members of, I believe it's an identitarian movement in France. So basically what he's trying to do, or at least I'm assuming from this image, because it's obvious that the EU guy is the bad guy. Because we know how Vox Day thinks. I don't believe in La Mort de Auteur, or de l'Auteur, whatever, Death of the Author. I don't buy it for an instant, because it's ridiculous to think that authorial intent does not have an influence on creation. That's idiotic. Going back to H.P. Lovecraft, if you read The Shadow over Innsmouth, the whole thing is his thoughts on interracial marriage. It just depends on how much weight you want to put onto it. Can you tell a compelling story like this? And we've got another character that's dressed up in the Confederate flag that's called Rebel, and this does not look good. This is like Savage Dragon bad. This could be as bad as like America Chavez, possibly. It really just depends, but it doesn't look good at all. And the reason that I say this is because I'm not convinced that Vox Day, maybe this is supposed to be satire, like some of Howard Chaykin's work, but I'm not really convinced that he can pull that off very well. To be honest, this does not look like what's going to save comics. At all. And I know some people want that. And here's the thing, guys. Let me just put it this way. I understand that you see what's going on at Marvel, and you hate it. I hate it too. I despise it. With that said, there are still some good books that are coming out. You've got Venomverse, which has been really good. Venom is the best thing at Marvel right now, both the Venomverse series and the Venom proper book. Obviously I recommend both of them. Amazing Spider-Man, it has some down arcs, but Dan Slott understands the character better than anybody else. Really, at that imprint right now. Gwenpool is enjoyable as well. So, it's not like there's not good things coming out of Marvel. DC has some good stuff too. I'm really enjoying Red Hood and the Outlaws. I'm really loving Deathstroke. So, it's not like there's bad comic books. It's not like there's no good comics out there at all. And if you're saying that they're not, stop just listening to what I have to say about the bad ones, or Diversity in Comics, or Captain Cummings, or the rest of us. Like, make up your own fucking mind, or actually read our recommendations, instead of just listening to the bad news. Because don't think that I don't notice that. I notice that videos about bad stuff tend to get more views than videos about good stuff from all of us. Because the internet runs on negativity. But there is good stuff out there. The problem is that there are these books that are hyper-partisan, and the writers are unable to really be unique in the writing, or even have any sense of subtlety when it comes to integrating politics, or telling an interesting story with a political slant. If there was an idol of Chris Claremont, I would possibly worship at it. Reason being is that he was able to weave social commentary into his books in a subtle manner and make good arguments through the book without it being overbearing. God loves, man kills. This is like a sledgehammer to the face. It's not subtle at all. It's just bam, EU bad, so on and so forth. It doesn't look good, man. It just doesn't. But here's the thing. And I would say the same thing about Patriotica. Do not assume that people who come along and say they've got the cure for all that ails the comic book industry actually have the cure for it. Because the cure is not right-wing books that might as well be the America Chavez of the right, or anything along those lines. The answer is good, well-thought-out storylines with enjoyable characters. Do I think that Vox Day is going to be able to deliver that with a book that honestly looks like propaganda? No. I am skeptical of the idea that Vox Day is the savior of comics. I'm sorry. And let me say this. I am declaring to you right now that I am actually trying to put together the possibility of me writing a few titles. The reason being is that I've actually got some character-driven stories I have wanted to write for years in the comic book format, but I knew that I would never get anywhere because I'm a conservative. Well, now that independents are something that people are really interested in, I'm willing to give it a shot. So, I'm not saying that I'm going to save comics, though. I'm just saying that I'm going to try to put out an alternative myself, because I think that I have what it takes to write a damn good story with some damn interesting characters. But again, I'm not going to claim that I'm saving comics. I'm just going to claim that I'm willing to try to put out an alternative. Do not ever, 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 ever make the mistake of planting all of your hopes and dreams on one guy, guys. It will never come true. Thanks for watching. My name is Micah Curtis. I'll see you next time. Deus Vult.
There are two things women bring to relationships: complaining and orifices. The admittedly facetious comment I just used in my introduction about women only bringing complaining and their holes into relationships was just to illustrate a point, and that is that men in general put up with the complaining to get a little access to her orifices. A life of complaints and give me, and I'm not happy just for a few minutes of sticky friction. A ridiculous and overinflated price, if you ask me. But the point is the complaining and what it signifies. The point is that most women, not all, but most, are a discontent breed, and thus are stereotypically, and quite rightly, known for complaining, which stems from that discontent. And as a corollary side note, I love it when you hear the female voice speak platitudes like,
"We need to stop the stereotyping of X, Y, or Z."
Well, is the stereotype generally true? And just pretending it isn't there isn't sufficient for reality, as though just not describing an aspect of reality will make it go away. This is childish behaviour. You see it in triggered female language changing today, renaming things to softer adjectives to make people feel better about them. Even though the thing is still quite rightly there. The form hasn't changed, only her avoidance of it by sophistry has. Think about that in today's female leadership. Scary thought. Because if her momentary feelings cannot be changed by forceful sophistry, then she complains. Think I'm being harsh? Just listen to the news each day.
Women are being held back. Women need more of this. Women are being denied that.
It's never enough for the pedestrian woman. Much more still, fucking still, needs to be done for the bottomless female void. More, give them more. After having society legally turned upside down for the ladies half a century ago, and our pockets turned inside out, the best women's trajectory has come up with today is Lady Gaga, Pink and Beyonce as their tour de force. Great. I'm sure we'll get to Mars any day soon, hey ladies? This is where our efforts to shovel decades worth of continual resources into females and gynocentrism has gotten us. butch and angry female singers as nagging female inspiration. But they want you to believe that a female-led utopia is forever just around the corner if you just give some more resources to them. But more than that, every female utterance of
"Just let me in,"
or
"Just give me more,"
has only led to a chaos of whatever they wanted money for or entry into in the first place. Women, gentlemen, want in not to help, not to further and build, not to cooperatively assimilate, but to mess up, loot and pillage. Not consciously, but that's what they do. Women are not cooperators. They are the opposite. Women do not assimilate. Understand this, guys. And it's evident in the things they are supposedly grateful to finally get or get into. You'd think they'd be happy to assimilate into that which they always wanted or said they needed, but no. Whether it's a relationship, a job, a family, virtually anything, it doesn't matter. They get into the corporate world and refuse to assimilate into that already functioning world and then proceed to redecorate that environment. They get into a relationship and then proceed to nag the guy they apparently loved in the first place into a different guy. They get into the police or military, politics, education, media, speech, what have you. Doesn't matter where or what it is. Let women into previously working constructs and they'll change it into dysfunctionality and eventually ruin it completely. And the annoying thing is women won't care in the end when it's all ruined because they just wanted the change itself. The change satisfies them, not results. The change is their addiction, not the thing they convinced themselves they wanted in the first place. What they want doesn't matter. It's because what women want is irrelevant. They are dopamine addicted to the acquisition and the change that facilitates it. A goal to women is just the direction to feel good in experiencing change. Understand that. I'll repeat it again. A goal to women is just the direction to feel good in experiencing change. But some people say, aren't women just going their own way with all their change? Aren't we misinterpreting all their various directions and changes unfairly? No. They are wanting entry into areas of life previously occupied by males that are already functioning well in their own right, and they don't care if they match the meretricious criteria for entry. They just want in, like they want to go shopping. Women are not giving rational arguments for how they will add or improve those areas if they are allowed to enter. All they give are nebulous reasons like
diversity,
which means nothing. There is no benefit to accommodating women past the notion of the door is open, meet or exceed the standards, that's it. Just like everyone else. Instead, we act like doting parents to every adult female with a nepotistic acquiescence to anything Pumpkin wants.
Gotta keep her happy or else.
Or else what? Fuck her and her sulking. We need to stop this doting on women for the sake of civilization and progress, at the very least. We are allowing the future to be ruined because the modern female mind cannot defer gratification, have empathy, nor comprehend merit. She's eating next season's crop because she simply wants to now. Fuck society. It's my belief that the women don't just want change, but that largely women are change. Women embody the concept of change. Too lazy to act on the world, change convinces them that they're actually doing something. They want the change but resist making the change themselves. And this is where men come in, the actioners. For men who like a stable base in their lives by which to set your future goals from going forward, I would strongly think twice against building or guiding your future on a woman's direction, push, assurance, or say-so. The modern woman is a confident idiot. You know why there's so many books and movies asking questions about
what women want?
It's because women don't even know themselves. So they're happy for the world to think her important enough to answer the question on her lazy behalf. As of yet, no one has ever answered the question, what do women want? The most honest, though depressing answer is, women just want more. As I mentioned in my older video called, funnily enough, More, link below. That's the only thing you can be sure of women wanting, more. Whatever more is, more of this, more of that. But here's a detail I didn't mention in that previous video. Women don't just want more, they want to be fed different mores. Women want constant and new change. Most women often coin the phrase,
I love a spontaneous man.
they are projecting with this admission. They want a man who'll give them childish surprises just like their daddy used to. Ah, spontaneity. Women's romanticism wants something new and unexpected. Change. This is life to them. Calm security is unsettling or boring to them. And let's also not forget that most women get bored very easily. This is not surprising given their lack of action, hence their want of more and more from men to alleviate their boredom. They don't like things to stay the same. Their biology is not hardwired to stay still. From their monthly periods of constant change and cycle and rebirth, to their hypergamy of change, social climbing, and the grass is always greener mentality, to the grown female child who really wants those perfect pair of shoes only to see them as yesterday's news tomorrow, as she eyes off another perfect pair of shoes she simply must have. Her addiction to change is always there. This excitable female itchy feet mindset tends to be that of change, different change, more change. And this type of female-driven gynocentrism is what we're entrusting our future progress of society to today? Jesus. A little girl's enthusiastic want of a puppy because she assures us,
I'll never ask for anything ever again if you give it to me, I promise.
and even though we're given repeated cold and sobering lessons of her incompetence or flat-out lying and maliciousness over and over, we're still letting the female magic 8-ball be the direction of wisdom now in society that guides us and our children into the future. Yeah, good luck to us all with that. Look, progress, by definition, in any real and tangible sense of the word, can only be made when what was secured yesterday that we know and trust to work is then built upon tomorrow. Experience. Heck, friendships need the foundations of yesterday. Facts do too. Science does. The accumulation of wisdom needs yesterday's experience and proven ideas to further. Remember that those that took leaps forward in days gone by echo the famously repeated cliche of, I stood on the shoulders of giants. So what happens when gynocentrism constantly disallows giants and history and experience? That is, constantly disallows and makes offensive, drawing from and building on the accumulated wisdom of the past. Where the past is deemed patriarchal, the past is termed offensive. Where that type of old-fashioned thinking is oppressive. Where generations of previously honed and cumulatively built upon lessons are dismissed and thrown away as garbage. Gynocentrism is doing the equivalent of book burning today, with its censorship and laws forbidding speech and ideas, simply because men largely implemented most of the ideas up till now, and it's patriarchal to the ladies. But now, no matter how sound old practices and facts are, they are looked upon as passé, and we must conjure up less offensive facts to make women smile. When the soundness of old and proven ideas are discarded in favour of newly thought up rolls of the emotional female dice, then I don't know what to tell you. Socially, we are doing the absurd equivalent of changing restaurants regularly because Princess doesn't like eating at the same place more than once. It's always change for change's sake, and change is always blind for women. No mindfulness of how the dominoes may fall after the change. No, it's just change. Do it now.
Diversity.
Whatever sophistry can be used, now, everything has to be co-opted by women to only reference their subjective nows. What happened to learning from your past mistakes? What happened from learning from the past lives of people before us, from their mistakes, so we don't have to make them again? Women are momentary junkies. One look at the schoolyard or women's roller coaster friendships with each other should tell you a lot about female nature. How often do you hear some women say,
I have mostly male friends. I can't stand the bitchiness of women.
And a theory I have for women's natural resistance to cooperative assimilation with others is that women on the whole are narcissists by their nature, or at the very least exhibit many narcissistic tendencies, and a major trait of narcissism is the inability to empathise with others. I mean, how can one get along with another if you can't recognise the other's rights and personhood, if you don't care about them? And since gynocentrism encourages women's general narcissistic tendencies today, it makes it difficult for them to get along with each other or with men on the whole, and consequently society's best interests. there tends to be a friction or a not seeing eye to eye, particularly with men when it comes to the male-female dynamic. And to be fair, we are very different from each other despite our outward appearances and our complementary sex organs. Men and women are designed to mate with each other, sure, but in terms of natural coincision, there is virtually none, particularly where intimacy or decorum and respect is called for. Women's nature wants to survive, and survival for them is individual opportunism, where they are all that matters. Men's nature has, generally speaking, always been cooperative, from hunting in the old days to civilization building with science, philosophy, architecture in the new days. Men survive by cooperating with the outside world and those in it to create the edifices we all call modernity and civilization today. Women's focus, on the other hand, largely ends where the satiation of their immediate emotional gratification begins. They just want their heroine now. They're emotional, momentary junkies. One could say that women find it hard to defer gratification, so much so that they embody the 7 deadly sins much, much more than men do. You know, lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, envy, wrath, pride. All the destructive impulses that ruin a person. And these undisciplined creatures are running society now. Think about that for a minute. One thing that fascinates me about women is their ability to rationalize a departure from reality into normality, as though it's just organic if we believe in it. Ladies, departures from reality are not reality. This is something most women in their childish dollhouse view of life are really susceptible to as they direct society. I'm speaking of immigration here. Ladies, just because you once took a vacation to Morocco and you loved its refreshing change from your mundane jobs and uninteresting life doesn't mean you'll get that same vacation feeling back by inviting refugees to come and live here, you idiots. One doesn't live on vacation. Know thyself, as the saying goes. Know where you live. Know who you are. A thrilling vacation to the Arctic is not a place I want to live permanently. Grow a brain, ladies, or get your hands off the societal steering wheel. Women are driving unassimilation in the West. Have you ever noticed how women will band together with anyone that will join in their non-assimilation? And who better than minorities, outsiders and foreigners? From the young and the naive leftists to trans and queer minorities to foreign unassimilatable cultures. Anyone who will break down male-built, organised Western civilization as it stands today. Funnily enough, the one civilization that everyone is flocking to because it's the best so far. But try rationalising that point to the inept gynocentric mind. Women don't even have the modicum of forethought to even gauge that these largely strong patriarchal cultures that they're welcoming with open arms into the West will crush women's rights tomorrow. Black Pigeon Speaks made a good point in his earlier video called Why Women Destroy Nations, linked below, where he noted that it's mostly older women who, after wasting their fertility on empty careers and feminist propaganda in their youth, are now championing these foreign cultures and minority groups to come in as a poor replacement for not having a family of their own. That is, she's banding together with anyone and everyone except her own men that, by the way, she knows she's screwed over in her past, to have a tepid semblance of family and belonging for herself now in old age. This is the modern female-inspired woman, folks. That is, most women out there. But the ethnic, unassimilatable thug that women are trying to hug today as a misplaced
"Someone please love me"
plea will take everything from her tomorrow. The ethnic male doesn't respect the Western woman, especially her feminist ideals. She's not leading these men. But what can you do? Women only see the new and a holiday-style change. No responsibility for the consequences at all. No forethought at all, especially for others in society. This lack of simple and rational societal forethought, to understand how 1 and 1 equal 2, is why I contend authority, responsibility, and any kind of voting should now require IQ and corollary tests prior to being handed out to anyone. No, you don't get a say if your say is, at best, stupid, ladies, or at worst, socially suicidal. Your tears are not an argument, your anger is not an argument, your withholding of sex is not an argument. Fuck off, grow a brain and some empathy, Men like myself are done with you. The women's notion of progress today, of triggered speech and censorship, has them deleting websites and channels on the internet, in effect, digitally erasing history, where only their current mode exists in perpetuity. Their current today of momentary subjective feelings. And where are we going tomorrow then, ladies? Well, if the current pattern continues, who the fuck knows? Wherever she feels like going tomorrow, I guess. One thing's for sure, the female doesn't assimilate naturally. And she'll constantly complain for change, more and more change, because it's in her nature. And by the way, she's in charge now, guys. Hold on. More reason to go your own way, I guess, gentlemen. Later. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe and donate. And don't forget to hit the bell icon once you've subscribed to be notified of my next video. And a heartfelt thank you to those that donated last month, notably Samath, Chief Brown Monkey, Barry and Bill. You're the best, guys. It keeps me especially indebted to all of you that donate by compelling me to keep creating and uploading my videos for you to enjoy. Thanks for letting me know that my efforts matter. Cheers.
Well, Get Out was a thoroughly enjoyable film. It was a little, I found it uneven, and kind of like a big episode of Star Trek, where people go to a...
Well, and this could have been that. I mean, like I was saying when we left the theater, the concept that you go off into outer space to meet your creator, and you find out that your creator wants to kill you, like hates you. That's a terrifying idea. It's a bleak concept.
That's the plot to Star Trek V.
Oh, the why would God need a starship? Yeah.
What does God need with a starship?
It's true.
Jim, you don't ask the Almighty for his ID.
Merritt Buttrick from Star Trek II. That was Kirk's son, right?
Oh, was it? I don't know. I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
It was.
Yeah.
Who we all know, Tom Hardy, who got his acting career started in Star Trek Nemesis as the Shinzon.
Oh, Shinzon.
Good old Shinzon. But instead it turned into a big thing that looked like Species 8472. And I was embarrassed. I wonder what Denise Crosby's thinking here. Female protagonist, male protagonist, I don't care, as long as the movie's funny. I've watched many a film, especially science fiction films, with a female protagonist. Alien, 1979. Terminator, Sarah Connor, Captain Catherine Janeway, who's now in Orange is the New Black.
In this film, Anton Yelchin stars as a member of a punk rock band that gets in over their heads when they witness a murder backstage at a club run by violent skinheads. The leader of the skinhead organization is everyone's favorite bald guy, Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart? Anton Yelchin? That's right, it's Chekhov versus Picard. We're getting those Star Trek references out of the way right up front, motherfucker. Mike, was Star Trek all you were going to talk about?
Whoever that fucker was who read the intro stole my thunder.
I don't know who it was. I don't know who reads these intros.
I've been waiting years to say punk rock Chekhov versus Nazi Picard. And not, it wasn't Walter Koenig. It was Anton Yelchin, the Chekhov from the alternate timeline J.J. Abrams universe. It was a clash of universes, Jay.
This is fanfic overload.
They look like dinosaurs. They're supposed to be alligators.
You know, guys, we could
that episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Oh God.
Yeah, when the Barclay disease that turns everyone into
Charles
like a
Barkley, was he on an episode of Star Trek?
They have a little like prosthetic on their forehead that looks like a Klingon like forehead.
Yeah.
So I think they're supposed to be aliens, but in Star Trek they would always try to like make communication with something, especially an alien creature that's shows some sign of intelligence. Yeah. You'd think they would be like, okay, let's do a thing while it's flopping around in this room. Let's send out what is it they always try to do? Prime numbers is like the basic thing of communication. I know it's just a little thing that just grew up.
Sure.
But maybe can understand a message somehow. At least make an attempt. And speaking of Joe Dante, Robert Picardo was in Gremlins 2 with Zach Galligan, and then Zach Galligan later appears on Star Trek Voyager.
They dig out the big laser, the shoulder giant.
The BFG.
Cannon, yeah.
Absolutely.
Worf's purple space.
It was the.
Are you fully functional? I am fully functional. That's a reference to Star Trek Next Generation.
Does Data have sex on Star Trek?
Oh, yeah.
That's a little weird.
He never gets rapey, but he does have sex. He has sex.
Well, I'm glad he doesn't get rapey.
I picked it because it stars Denise Crosby, a.k.a. Lieutenant Tasha Yar, who Denise Crosby made the very wise decision to leave Star Trek The Next Generation and a lifetime of royalties to star in such films as Mutant Species.
She could be making like William Frakes money, Jonathan Frakes money, William Riker, Jonathan Frakes. I fuck that up too. I fuck everything up.
You really need to take your diabetes medicine. Worf, how are you doing today?
It is hot in here, but it's hot on Kronos.
I see you have the traditional Klingon blade.
Yes.
And I had just a moment to ask him an important question. Now today, did you happen to bring your purple space bazooka?
My what?
Your giant purple space bazooka that you shoot in Star Trek Insurrection.
No, I left that back on the ship.
He was wonderful in this.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see Data back. He even said the word sick bay. It's like, I gotta get you to sick bay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my heart skipped a beat. I'll make a point to reference Star Trek The Next Generation, the best of both worlds. Captain Picard has been controlled by the Borg. He's been retaken back by the Enterprise crew, and he says, "Sleep, Data, sleep." And then stupid Beverly Crusher says, "He must be exhausted." And then Data's like, "No, bitch." He's trying to tell us a course of action. Put the Borg to sleep via a subcommand, which is very similar to sending in a virus, and then they put all the Borg to sleep. They trick them into thinking that it's time to regenerate.
Okay.
But in order to make it exciting, for some reason, the self-destruct starts happening on the Borg cube, and then it blows up. So I can't be hypocritical. I understand why they just didn't say the virus turned all the ships off, and they all just crashed.
Right.
I have to concede this notion. Best of both worlds would not have ended very excitingly if
But you
the Borg
could.
ship just shut off and they went to sleep.
Oh, God, that was Casio.
Casio keyboard?
Yeah.
It's Cassian Andor, and I remember that because his name sounds like Calrissian Andor. Andor. That's a Star Trek reference.
But Endor.
Andor, sure.
Sounds like Endor.
We're Star Trek people, so.
There is a planet called Andor, which has the Andorians, which are the blue people with the antenna.
But then there's the planet of Endor that has the Ewoks.
That starts with an E.
Sure.
That's always been the strongest stuff in any of these movies, whether it's them or whether it's those two old guys.
Oh, yeah. Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart.
Is that their names? Have they done anything else?
They've been in some things. Offhand, I can't recall what.
Okay.
Some kind of like bigger sci-fi series or series of films.
Oh, sci-fi. Patrick Stewart was in Life Force.
Yes. I never saw Terminators as like Datas, like Brent Spiner Data. Like, I saw them as just mindless killing robots. But for some reason, he's as smart as Data, and he could build a fucking time machine. Do you remember when Data traveled back to San Francisco in the 1890s and met Mark Twain? Data was also building some sort of device out of technology at the time to communicate to the future. But Data could do that because he's smart. That was in the two-parter episode Time's Arrow.
Say, Jordy, get back.
His name's Geordi and he's blind.
Can we talk about Jordy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, if we're talking about...
Her kid brother in the film is named Geordi.
And he pretends to be blind.
Which must have really just rubbed salt in Denise Crosby's wounds.
Picard, shit. We talk about the Star Trek guy. And the
You go ahead.
Well, there's multiple Star Trek things, yeah.
There's a guy in this film, he plays the police chief. Me and Rich are like, we know that guy. We know that guy.
He's from something.
He's from something. And He's the episode where Wesley Crusher and 3 other cadets get tried for a crime. They're pilots. They're on a piloting mission in the academy, and they do a dangerous maneuver.
That's the episode that has Tom Paris, who isn't really Tom Paris.
Although his backstory lines up perfectly with Voyager, so he should have been Tom Paris.
He was going to be, but then they would have had to have given the writer of that episode royalties for the Voyager show. But originally, it was going to be.
But anyways, yeah, well, we're still talking about stuff.
Okay, I'll be
that same court-martial scene, you'll find Marina Sirtis. And Marina Sirtis plays Counselor Jen Troy.
Are we talking about Marina Sirtis and how she violently gets raped in this movie?
Yes. Scientist Man, who is the same actor who played Admiral Dougherty in Star Trek Insurrection, which should be noted.
But he wants to conquer the Federation, so this is a Star Trek.
Oh, all right.
You're gonna love this.
Hello, I am also wearing a Spock t-shirt. I see we're doing the presence thing again.
He's basically Ed 209, where, you know, if you step out of line even a little bit, you're dead.
It reminds me of that episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, when they accidentally create Professor Moriarty. Well, they say they create him on accident. They create a supervillain on accident. In the episode, Geordi and Data are playing on the holodeck, right? And they're playing their Sherlock Holmes adventures, and Data keeps solving all the cases too quickly. So Geordi says, computer, create an enemy, or create an opponent, an adversary, that
is capable of
defeating Data. And so the computer interprets that to create something that's smarter than the computer itself. You want to be really smart to defeat Data. So then you create this holographic character that's
I really liked the part where Black Widow was riding on Hulk's back as they climbed up the floating city. That was great.
But Jay, I don't know anything about video games or video game systems. I mean, look at this. This looks like something a Vorto would wear in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
I don't know what that means.
Rich, do you remember? I can smell your
No, I don't.
That's from...
What's that from, Mike?
Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
What part
It's
of
also in Silence of the Lambs.
Are you sure that wasn't the porn parody? Star Trek 3, The Search for Cock?
It wasn't really the ghost taking control. It was the ghost possessing David from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Like the spaceship has sort of this organic thing going on where it looks like it's made of like bone and like honeycomb and webbing, and I was like, why is it like this?
Yeah, the set's like lots of curtains. The doors are like shower curtains. And then it's like, it looked like 1960s Star Trek sets for a while.
Characters. Very moments. Shot
like one of those cheapo romantic comedies that they dump into theaters every February.
I think Simon Pegg may have been making a reference to Tuvix. I don't know how much Simon Pegg knows about Star Trek. I know he's a big Star Wars guy. I have a feeling he watched every Star Trek show in order.
I'm going to assume he knows more than Robert Orci and Robert Kurtzman.
He looks like Khan. He has Khan's hair.
Look, just shut the fuck up and keep eating the cake. I'm trying to read this classic American novel.
Oh, is that one by Hemingway?
Close. Michael Jan Friedman.
Oh, I loved him on Airwolf.
Okay, I get what they're going for here with the Judi Dench M character and James Bond himself getting sort of older and not quite used to this type of world that we are in now.
It's very Star Trek 2. Very revenge oriented. The lead character is aging and realizes it, and kind of has a rejuvenation at the end. It was Picard was brainwashed in a different dimension. It's like the episode where Benjamin Sisko is a crime writer in the 1940s on Star Trek Deep Space Nine!
Was that a plot line?
I think so. There's many episodes of many series of Star Trek where one of the characters is out of time, out of place, in a different world where their memories are wiped and they're doing something completely different that normally do, and so is a bad guy. There's of course the mirror universe in Star Trek, the original series, and which carries over into Deep Space Nine.
Oh, of course.
They bring back the mirror universe in Deep Space Nine, where everyone's fucked up and evil, and some people are, most people are. And so the whole time I watched this film, I was just thinking, like, this is great.
This is a great Star Trek episode. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, I kept wanting to hear Patrick Stewart say, "Throw the phaser under the door." They made a joke about McCoy and Spock being melded together once they beam back.
Oh yeah, that made me think of David Cronenberg's The Fly. Was that a Star Trek reference?
Well, yeah, and Scotty goes, that would be the worst thing that would happen. It was the worst idea ever, or something like that. And there was a Voyager episode where Neelix, the happy-go-lucky Hobbit character, and Tuvok, the emotionless Vulcan, get blended into a new being called Tuvix.
Oh my God!
And they're like, Tuvix is its own thing, we can't tell it to separate. He's like, I like myself now, I'm Tuvix. And they're like, we can't force it to come back apart. It's a new person. What do we do? I don't know. All those there's lots of ethical questions in Star Trek. That's what makes Star Trek fun, is all the ethical questions. So many good shows dealing with that. When I saw the helmet and Paul Rudd has to go to open it up, I thought, and I gave the movie too much credit, I thought he needed to use it to breathe. Because there's an episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine where they discover a anomaly in space that will, if you pass through it, it'll shrink down your molecules. And Chief O'Brien, Lieutenant Jadzia Dax, and Dr. Julian Bashir get into a little tiny shuttlecraft. Well, it's not tiny then, it's a regular sized, it's a runabout. And they pass through the thing and they shrink. And they shrink to about this big. And they fly around inside the Defiant. It's a really great episode. It's pointless. But they're like, we gotta go get out of the ship and fix something. And then the doctor's like, no, you can't, because when you breathe outside of the ship, the oxygen molecules are too large for your blood to assimilate them. So you'll suffocate to death. So I thought...
And you wanted that kind of science in Ant-Man? Oh, hey, where's Mike?
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Oh. Well, that was clever and inventive and unique.
Yeah.
I beamed in because of Star Trek.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I also brought along my phaser weapon.
That's just a plastic toy, right?
And it's from Next Gen.
What? What does that mean? Spock has a phaser because of Star Trek.
Dork.
That's the wrong phaser.
Shit.
You done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely is breast cancer.
The movie then happens. It stars no one you've ever heard of except for Alfre Woodard, who is in Star Trek First Contact. Mike wrote this.
Or more importantly, Jay, how are people going to play their Star Trek The Next Generation interactive VCR board game?
Oh my God.
He looks like the guy that plays an admiral in Star Trek Voyager.
Okay.
Admiral Paris. And he looks like Mr. Magoo.
Do you ever think that maybe you draw too many comparisons to Star Trek?
What was really enticing was Star Wars.
The motion picture.
And they made a Star Wars holiday special.
They never called it Star Wars the motion picture. They called it Star Trek
Star Trek the motion picture.
Which came out in 1979, came out 2 years after Star Wars. But it was more influenced by Stanley Kubrick's 2001 for some reason. Gene Roddenberry and Robert Wise, who directed Star Trek the motion picture, were stupid.
Yeah.
Let's make a fucking 2.5 hour boring movie and not ape off the success of this amazing action-packed sci-fi adventure called Star Wars.
But when Star Trek apes off of Star Wars, you get J.J. Abrams' Trek. They did that. It was terrible.
No, J.J. Abrams' Trek was fine.
The first one,
It just
the second
wasn't
one,
just wasn't a Trek movie.
No, it's not a Trek
Rich, it's perfectly in Spock's character to jump onto flying hover vehicle
and punch somebody repeatedly.
and punch someone repeatedly in the face.
While screaming emotionally.
I was screaming, "I'm going to murder you, you cocksucker!" I'm going to apologize in advance to you and our audience. I'm going to bring up Star Trek.
Okay.
Starship Troopers is the anti-Star Trek. Because Starship Troopers is essentially the Gorn episode called Arena in Star Trek.
Famous Gorn episode.
I don't know if you remember the Gorn fight is a small part of it.
That's all anybody knows.
Okay, the first part of it, Kirk and the gang. It's an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Kirk and the gang go to a Federation planet where everyone's been murdered. So in the Gorn episode, the Enterprise goes to a planet with Federation colonists, and they discover they've all been killed, much like what happens in Starship Troopers. Same thing happens in the Arena episode, and everyone's killed, and they kind of figure out who did it. It's the Gorn. They're a hostile race. They look like something that's ugly to us, like the bugs.
Right.
And so, they chase the Gorn ship. I mean, it's intervened. They're intervened by like these Greek god aliens that are like all powerful, and they're basically like, you're fighting in our territory, stop. Here's our solution. You and the Gorn, Captain Kirk and the Gorn captain, are going to go down on the planet and fight. Whoever wins, we're going to blow the other ship up. But in the end,
I shall be merciful and quick. You were intruding. You established an outpost in our space.
Kirk realizes that the Gorn was just doing exactly what the bugs did.
Yeah.
We set up a colony on its
Protecting
planet.
its territory.
Yeah, and so he's like, no, I'm not going to kill him. I won't kill him! And then everyone's on their little earpiece, the Lieutenant Uhura earpiece from Star Trek. It was a callback to Scott Bakula Enterprise.
Oh, really?
Well, it's basically the same design, like an
Okay.
X-class ship. And that was so cool to see that. Well, surprisingly, the musical composer of Space Raiders, a B movie made by Roger Corman, was the famous James Horner.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who James Horner is, he composed music for many films, the Star Trek films.
But notably, Star Trek 2 and 3.
People on 50 colonized planets are waiting for shipments, and we've got robots sitting on their hands. We're the biggest corporation in the galaxy. We can at least get a shipment off on time.
It sounds like Star Trek 3 music. Yes, and there's a lot of music that Rich and I noticed was very similar to Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Even I noticed. Like, the feel is very similar.
These films were made right around the same time.
Yeah, if James Horner wasn't dead, we'd call him out on plagiarizing himself. I guess we still are, but...
Well, it's not necessarily plagiarism, but it feels like offcuts. Like rough tracks and demos and kind of... Although, which is not to say the quality of recording, because it's definitely like fully orchestrated.
Yeah. This has the Star Trek music in it. And I don't know...
It's just the same score?
Yeah. It's the same score with like slight variations on a couple of the notes. Okay, someone out there has to have also noticed this. Because they played that same theme. It's like the new Star Trek theme in the J.J. Abrams movies.
Okay.
And it's the exact same music in this. Mr. Cruz requires a 30-foot distance between him and the lens. It'll be like old episodes of Star Trek whenever you see them, where it cuts to like Dr. McCoy, and it's like perfectly in focus, and it cuts to a lady of a certain age, and it's like blurry. We gotta put that old-timey filter on. We're filming a lady, gentlemen. Let me get this straight. The lady from Star Trek First Contact throws herself out of a window to save my baby's soul from being eaten by the devil, which is inside a plastic doll. Okay, whatever. Americans and their trash.
That's not a name.
That's just like a word that they made up.
It sounds like a mixture of Nomad, the autonomous robot from the original Star Trek series, and NORAD.
Yep, because that sounds ominous.
They did the swarm in Star Trek Voyager, tens of thousands of tiny ships attacking you at once is an interesting concept, and the Voyager didn't do anything with it. I'm glad they brought that back.
His skin has been burnt off, and so he's a robot, so he says, I'll meet you there.
Wait, stop.
Oh my God.
Okay, I've seen plenty of episodes of Star Trek or shows like that.
You watch Star Trek?
I have watched Star Trek.
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
The show that takes place aboard the Star Trek Enterprise with Dr. Spock, where there's these convoluted time travel shows, right?
Okay.
We got to go back here to stop this and that and that, and then there's all sorts of things in it.
Butterfly
effect, causality loops, you kill your grandparents.
Paradoxes.
Whatever. But at the core, as long as there is a heart to the story, is there a heart to this story?
No.
And that's the main problem.
Can only pray that they don't dredge him back up. Because
that would be like a slap in the face to this movie.
This was like the end of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. The Enterprise sails off
We're
into
done.
the sunset.
Oh no, we're bringing Kirk back.
Second start to the right. Straight on till morning. Dun, 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 dun. And then every cast member signs the credits. And then they bring them back. Come on out of the graves, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's ruin everything. Leave it alone. Let's take a look here. Is it embarrassing that I know his name is Galron?
Yes.
I thought so. Chief. Computer access. Computer access. Science lab. Go to the science lab. Oh, a little tricorder prop. It hinges, but it doesn't bend. I'm gonna make it bend. Definitely is breast cancer. That's really great. Oh, cleaner and ceremonial dagger spinner. Computer access. Klingon symbol. Oh. It's like the price is right. Chief. Institute. An episode Klingon Challenge. Seems like it could be fun. These tricorders.
That's nice.
Status confirmed. VIP is controlled. Proceed with the extraction.
So Jack, yeah, we're back. The last time I did a review with you, I think it was Blade.
Yeah!
Which was a movie that you love and are very familiar with. And I was like, I saw it in the theater. I don't remember it very well. So now we're on the opposite end where we're doing a spooky Halloween double feature. These are two movies that go very well together, I think.
Yeah.
Reanimator and From Beyond, which are movies that I love that you had not seen before.
Right.
Same director, same writer, some of the same casts, and made pretty much back to back. Oh, well, that's another connection they have, is both based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
Sure.
But yeah, very, very loosely based.
Yeah.
But we'll get to From Beyond, I guess. We'll start with Reanimator.
For those who have never seen it, you know, it came out right along the same time as the Evil Dead movies. Evil Dead 1 and 2, kind of right in between them.
Comedy in their horror films.
Right.
Horror comedy, which this is definitely... It's a comedy. It's straight up a comedy. It's a comedy with gore. The story of Reanimator, though, very basic. This young scientist...
West. Herbert West.
Goes to Miskatonic University in Arkham, Massachusetts, which is a made-up H.P. Lovecraft town. It's where the Arkham Asylum in Batman, that's named after Arkham from H.P. Lovecraft works.
Fun.
So, comes to this town, ends up rooming with a young go-getter student who's dating the dean's daughter. Mm-hmm. The dean is friends with another professor at the school named Dr. Hill, who has a creepy, lecherous obsession with the dean's daughter. And the mad scientist is doing experiments on reanimating dead flesh.
You killed him. No, I did not. I gave him life.
What I really love about the movie is the clarity of it. It's a very focused story. Everybody is written very specifically. They all have things to do that propels the story forward. It's really like, it's a really tight script, which helps because a lot of the movie's kind of bad in a lot of ways, mainly the effects, which we'll get into. But the characters are well written. I think all the actors are great. Dr. Hill, played by John Kerry.
There's so much to unpack in just your presentation of the movie, where it's like, all the characters are well written if they are outlandish cartoon stereotypes.
Well, sure, it's a comedy. If you were to remove, and I think this is the best horror films work this way, where it's like, if you take, there should only be like one sort of horror aspect, and if you pull that out, it still works as like a character-driven thing. And I think the idea of this sort of like dark, weird drama about this guy who's dating the dean's daughter, and then the dean's friend has this creepy obsession with the daughter, and there's this sort of, not love triangle, but there's relationship triangle going on.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of works. That could work as its own story. But then you drop in that Herbert West, who's reanimating dead cats and bringing corpses from the morgue back to life, and that's when things go crazy.
And I guess, like, to your point, even just the young professional go-getter gets a roommate because he's short on cash, and the roommate's a little eccentric and might get him into trouble. Like, yeah, these.
And then he gets dragged into it along with Herbert West.
Right, and so it's like you could completely remove the zombies from this and just have it be a drama, which is true. But it's. And I'm saying this lovingly. It is wonderfully over the top.
Oh, sure. Well, this is a B movie, and not a best of the worst movie because it's too good. But it is a B movie through and through.
Jeffrey Combs, in particular, is chewing every piece of scenery all around him.
Now, he interrupted an important experiment in progress. But granted, it was an accident. But this is the freshest body that we could come across, save of killing one ourselves. And every moment that we spent talking about it cost us results. Now, will you give me a hand?
Like, what was the pencil snapping thing?
That's just to show his frustration.
Brain death brings about an irreversible conclusion.
And this is an aspect of the movie I like, is that there's kind of this, like, a creative person versus a horribly unoriginal, uncreative person.
How can you teach such drivel? These people are here to learn, and you're closing their minds before they even have a chance.
What are you here for, Mr. West?
You know, you should have stolen more of Gruber's ideas, then at least you'd have ideas.
Mr. West! It's going to be a pleasure to fail you.
Dr. Hill, he's the teacher of this class. He's talking about, the human brain can last for 6 to 10 minutes or something like that.
6 to 12 minutes.
6 to 12 minutes.
Once these activities cease, the brain can only survive an additional 6 to 12 minutes. 6 to 12 minutes.
Because that's what he's been told, that's what he's learned. He is dead set on this. And Herbert West has these ideas about, reanimating dead tissue and that we can sustain life long after that. And so he's just breaking pencils to show his frustration, which leads to one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is full of great lines.
Perhaps it takes... Mr. West, I suggest you get yourself a pen.
But make sure to speak it to the back row.
Well, this is a good time to point out then that Stuart Gordon, the director of the film, started in theater. He started at UW-Madison, actually.
Oh, really?
Here in lovely Wisconsin, Madison, which is about 70 miles west of us. In the 60s, he was doing really, like, counterculture stage plays. He got shut down a few times by the cops, like really stuff that got him into trouble.
Oh, cool.
So he's always been really subversive. So theater is his background, and Reanimator was his first movie. And it's very theatrical, it's very over the top, which is perfect for the material, like it works. And the movie itself, as far as, like I was talking about, the character dynamics and stuff, it's very... I mean, the movie, there's essentially 5 characters. There's a couple peripheral characters as well, but it could work as a stage play.
Absolutely.
It's been done as a play. It was turned into Reanimator the Musical, also directed by Stuart Gordon. We should probably talk about the score to the movie, which I think is a wonderful score. But before the movie was made, it was already proven as being a wonderful score when Bernard Herrmann composed it for Psycho. It's just Psycho. I don't know how nobody got sued over this. It's changed ever so slightly, but it's Psycho.
If you copy something, you really like it.
That's true.
So, yeah, no, and that whole opening credit sequence is very Hitchcockian.
Oh yeah, it's kind of a Saul Bass, all the anatomy, and it's all colorful. Like, it sets the movie, a perfect tone for the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, stark contrast to colors, weird stuff, very Hitchcockian, but yeah, that score.
It's just Psycho.
I mean... One of the things I enjoyed about it so much was how they weren't afraid to show the goods.
Oh yeah, this was released unrated. It went for it.
It's a horror movie, and you know, so many times I'm thinking specifically of that scene where Jeffrey Combs is killing Dr. Hill with the shovel.
Yes.
And you know, his first strike is kind of off camera, and you go, "Oh, okay, it's just gonna be blood splattering on the wall." But then no, the doctor has a shovel in his neck.
And there's that great shot kind of from behind, like foot level. And you see that top of the head just kind of roll off. Yeah. That's another, that scene has my favorite line in the movie, which there's lots of lines from this movie that people quote, but no one ever talks about this one, maybe because it doesn't work out of context, but it goes back to what I was saying about like a creative person versus an uncreative person. Dr. Hill is trying to steal Herbert West's reagent, which is the neon green fluid that brings the dead back to life, and he wants to pass it off as his own work. And so yeah, he's looking in a microscope, and then Jeffrey Combs beats him over the head, and as he's shoveling his face, Herbert West just goes, My other favorite line is "Cat dead, details later."
You could call or write a note. I was busy pushing bodies around, as you well know, and what would a note say, Dan? Cat dead, details later?
The whole movie, this and From Beyond, I think, follow this really amazing kind of cartoon logic to them.
Oh yeah.
Where like, and I'm sure there's a specific name for it, that thing in a cartoon where they go off on a tangent and then the tangent grows on itself.
Oh, sure.
That's the whole movie.
Yeah, it keeps moving forward. I think the movie's like 80-some minutes, 82 minutes, something like that, 86.
And it's a perfect ramp.
Yeah.
The beats comes, you know, we get our first little gore scene with Dr. Hans Gruber.
Which is weird, because Hans Gruber is, of course, the main bad guy in Die Hard.
Completely unrelated.
As far as I know, that's like in Die Hard, that's not an H.P. Lovecraft reference, because I don't think Hans Gruber is a character in the original story. So is Die Hard referencing Reanimator? Because Reanimator came first.
Possibly, or maybe Hans Gruber is like the John Smith.
It's just the most common name in Switzerland. I mean, that's where Reanimator's from. I don't know where is he from in Die Hard?
He's generally Eastern European. So, you know, we start off with our first kind of intro gore bit, and then just slow paces. So, you know, I'm trying to think of what our first like horror is. The cat.
Where, yeah, Dan wakes up in the middle of the night. Herbert West is doing his experiments in the basement.
Get out of here! Get it up to me!
He's got the cat puppet on his back, and he's wrestling with it. It is a puppet.
He doesn't have a cat puppet on his back. He has a cat skin rug stapled to his shirt.
He has a stuffed animal, yeah. Yes. But then he throws it behind the cupboards or whatever, and then they're like, you just hear it running around. Which is good in theory, but that scene's always been weird to me as far as the lighting. Because it's supposed to be like, there's the overhead light that's dangling back and forth, which is like, okay, that's good. But for some reason, they chose to put like lights behind all the cabinets.
Yeah.
It's very weird looking.
It was probably just a practical decision. Like, we need to see something.
Yeah.
So put a light back there.
Yeah, but it's a clever idea to not show the cat, where they're just like looking around for it and you hear it and it knocks some things off the shelf and, oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah, no. And then, you know, of course, we get the adorable cat puppet.
Why'd you make that noise? Birth is always painful.
Herbert West is like, before they reanimate, he's like, now watch, it has a broken back. Don't expect it to tango. Like the idea of this poor dead cat with a broken back, and they bring it back to life, and it's just like moaning in pain. Like, in theory, that's like sad and gross and creepy.
Yeah, yeah.
In context, though, you're just like, oh.
But that's our first, like, that's basically our first stepping stone into the gore. this much exposition, horror, then this much exposition, and we get buff naked dude.
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double from that era. The whole idea is that Herbert West has this idea that the fresher the body, the more likely it is to reanimate and be more like it was before it died.
Mhm.
The farther away you get from that, they turn into mindless zombies that don't really have any agenda. They just kind of flail around and make noise.
Animalistic.
Yeah, animalistic. That's good. So they go to the more try and find the freshest one they can. Chaos ensues because the dean shows up and
it turns into a farce.
Oh yeah,
is what it
absolutely. when the zombies knocking the door down, it just falls right onto the dean and he's jumping on it.
It's a cartoon. They have made a cartoon. And then the dean's dead, and so then it's theater. It's yes and. Okay, the dean's dead, so now we have to just take the dean and reanimate the dean.
We're not going to find a fresher specimen than this. And big shock, it doesn't work. In a fun performance, I think him as the mindless zombie is pretty hilarious.
Mhm.
Dr. Hill, as we mentioned, he gets his head cut off and
That's the moment I knew I loved this movie. Is as soon as the head in the blood bucket was telling the body what to do, I was down.
That's what we get in full on slapstick with the body like flailing around the office. And
The body detached from the head can still communicate with the head.
Oh yeah,
and the head is in
head's in a little tray. It's a severed head with a neck stump.
Right.
Because whenever we get a close up where it's the actor like clearly cut through a hole in the table, it's just like a little flap.
Yeah, that's where like they really tried. I want to say because you need the actor talking.
Yeah.
And so just get in real close. Don't worry about anything under the actor's head.
How do you feel? You?
My favorite though, and by favorite I mean the worst,
Yeah.
is when he's actually holding the head in front of him, and for whatever reason his body is now like 5 times wider. How'd they accomplish that in masterful special effects?
It's great.
But that's the thing is like these effects, they're not the best, but the movie is so fun, and I think like you mentioned the pacing, like the way it keeps ramping up, it's so well paced. And there's lots of fun dialogue, funny lines, that you're willing to forgive that stuff,
Yes.
It doesn't drag the movie down. It's just kind of sort of like, oh, I guess I'll accept this.
You'll never get credit for my discovery. Who's going to believe a talking head? Get a job in a sideshow.
So you get towards this end, and you have a headless body carrying around its own head, and you think to yourself, obviously this is it. This is as far as you can get. And then all of a sudden, a gaggle of naked zombies shows up. I mean, this movie, Jay. Thank you.
And it all holds together by Jeffrey Combs. Yes. His performance is really like that's the star of the movie.
Well, he is playing it very sincerely, but also incredibly over the top.
Yeah. Well, and I just like that his character is so focused. And he's not really a bad guy. He's just trying to get the freshest corpse as possible.
Except for he murdered someone.
Well, he was a plagiarist. Herbert West has his limits.